checking the audio first, and after that we will be able to go from there. Let me find out, make sure everything is working. Supposedly we've got it all going, so I just got to wait and see what happens. So looks like kick is up. See what happens. So kick is sounding good. We will be able to do live. Sounds good. Tell me guys what you guys think about my new background as well. I've been working on trying to update it, get new stuff in, working on Blender, getting my shit together so that you guys can enjoy a little bit of background video while I am doing all of this. I'm hearing a little bit of a echo. I don't know for sure what's causing that, so let me go in here and find out real quick. It could be the fact that I'm keeping it open too long. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, so let me share this with TLB Talk for everybody that's on TLB Talk. If you are there, give us some support, man. Go in and make a comment. Let everybody know who you are in the comment section as well as on TLB Talk. Do a plug for them here on the show so that we can get things going. So if you are on TLB Talk, I am posting the link and everything to Red Pill Nation on there. I've also posted the stream that I just did before this, Cafe Enigma, if you guys want to check it out. And I'm also posting WPRPN on there, as well as Dragus Production and their Sunday night show, Censorship Sucks. So we do have a lot of things going into TLB Talk. If you guys are interested in that, just go check it out. And with that, I am going to try and see if I can find a, well, I don't know if I want to actually. I could. Let me go see if I can find Naroki stuff. Put it up as a DK Conspiracy is also doing a stream right now, I believe. And if he isn't, then later on, man, I can but yeah, he's got one 3 hours ago that I'm gonna restream. Couldn't make it to his show, so I'm going to go ahead and get that done. Let me see. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just going to go ahead and leave that background. I'll drop down the window capture for now, and I will be back. And give me a second real quick. Hello.
Roger.
Yeah. Hey.
Hold on a second. Let me put you on speaker.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm putting my headphones and plugging in the speaker, the microphone, and the headphones right now. So.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm ready to go here. I didn't Wanted to upload some videos, but I didn't have the time, so it's just going to be a straight up slideshow tonight.
Okay.
But yeah, all right. So yeah, let me know when you're. Let me. I sent you the invite. So
Okay. I am getting everything is set up and ready to go now. I just have to go grab me some coffee and stuff, and
all right.
we should be
I
good to
gotta
go.
grab some. I gotta grab some tea as well. So I guess we can give ourselves about 5 more minutes here. I don't think it's 5 more minutes is gonna kill. Is Jaffe joining us as well, or?
I don't know what Jeffy's doing. He was supposed to show up for Cafe Enigma, and he didn't show up. He left a comment a couple, like a half an hour before the show ended. So, um,
All right. No, well, it's just you and me. That's okay. I got a little bit of a commentary to make before the show starts, but
you
we're good.
commentary away, man, because I really don't like talking all that much, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is one of those. Tonight is one of those. The show must go on
Yeah.
tonight because I guess I got to do 461 tomorrow, and I because of work and shit, I'm way behind on my fucking uploading here, so I'm gonna have to spend a good chunk of tomorrow getting caught up on that.
All right.
So it's gonna be a bit of a long one, but yeah, I'm gonna go get some tea. You go get some coffee,
All right.
and then give us about 300 seconds, and then we can get going here.
Now I'm gonna smoke a cigarette too. So, because
Okay, so
I can't
you got
smoke in
about
here.
yeah. Okay, so give it about 10 minutes then.
Yeah, about that much, and then we should be good to go. I'm ready to go every other way except for actually that. So,
Yep. So yeah, Rooster's not going to be joining us because he's currently in the middle of switching jobs, so he's staying in a hostel in a rather public location.
all right.
Doesn't want to take chance on somebody overhearing what the conversation is about. You know,
Yeah.
again, I had a problem with that when I was working in Banff too. I just said fuck it and went ahead and did it anyway.
Yeah.
But it was like, you know, at one point I had to fucking like change floors because some fucking drunk people showed up and started having loud fucking conversations
Yeah.
at one point. You know, but it was like I was always slightly fucking worried because it's like, you know, some fucking closet feminist or progressive fucking male might just fucking walk into the fucking staff suite.
I'm gonna go get
Well,
that coffee now.
all right, I'll talk to you in a bit. Bye.
All right. I will talk to you in a little bit. Okay, guys, we are set up and ready to go. Just giving you a little teaser of what the Red Pill Nation or Hangout, Red Pill Nation Hangout is all about. I will be right back and we will get the show going on. Let me mute this out real quick.
Check it out. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. She catch it. Check it out. Jump. Check it out. Check it out.
Welcome to the Red Pill Nation Hangout. Hopefully I'm sounding a lot better now. I had an issue with my mic and then my mic wouldn't unmute. But welcome to Red Pill Nation Hangout number 460. I am your host, Roger Drive. Rearson cannot make it tonight. Roger is currently out having a cigarette, so we will skip to the intros for when Roger gets back in. Site news, yeah, okay. Like same as before. I have added links for both my Discord, my Kick, and my Twitch. Although I might not be on Twitch much longer. I will be adding more stuff as I go along. There is a very strong possibility here that I might be restarting the Roki 5 live stream here at some point very soon if I can find the time, because boy do I have a lot to talk about there. And I have a lot to talk about there. The whole there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I could do an entire episode just on the memes that I've collected over the past couple of months. So yeah, the Roki 5 live stream is going to be making a reappearance here sooner or later. I just don't know when. Other site news, basically, as much as I would like to be doing this on a consistent day at a consistent time, my new work schedule does not allow me to just set one day of the week aside and just do it then. I have to kind of spread myself out a little bit. So yeah, I will be jumping around to different days of the week. Apologies to the 3 people who actually listen to my show on a regular basis. Yeah, but I'm gonna be moving. The day of broadcast is gonna be moved around for a little bit. Really, that's pretty much about it for now. Yeah, new job. There also tonight, unfortunately, I totally forgot to download videos. So it's gonna be just a straight up slideshow tonight. There's not gonna be any videos on this one. C'est la vie. I would have liked to have done some stuff, but time just didn't allow it. Yeah, that is pretty much it. Let me just see if... oh, hey, Roger, introduce yourself. Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Yep.
Check it out.
Okay, so tonight's topics, and there is actually topic number 1, and it was just kind of the way they happened this week, so it's not necessarily in super order here. But topic number 1, serious push by some members of the Hollywood community for production of Texas. That should really not come as any surprise to anybody who's familiar with what's going on in Hollywood right now. Then we got a rather large Charlie Kirk segment. That might go on for a while, or it might not. Yeah, that one might go on for a while. Charlie Kirk segment. Memorial service happens with huge support. However, Hollywood and online celebrities start feeling the heat. Yeah. Leftist attacks start to increase. There's a bunch of them here. And leftist start to because the Fox News van in Salt Lake City, the ABC Sacramento, Palestinian shoots up a wedding, the FBI office in Pittsburgh was attacked. No, the Dallas ICE shooting, that will be for 461. More of the same though. This is also going to be a two-parter. Last week, Trump declared Antifa a terrorist organization. As of what happened tonight, though, and I decided to throw it in for next week, but we will kind of cover it a little bit. The Rose City Antifa in Salem, Oregon, just got hit by federal agents. I believe it was either yesterday or today. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Topic number 4: Twitch CEO being called up to about its contact around certain content producers. This is probably specifically about Hasanabi. Topic number 5: Jimmy Kimmel canceled after Charlie Kirk content. I wanted to put that in with the Charlie Kirk, but that's of all the issues that were tied into Kirk, this one was the biggest. And topic number 6: Trump delivers ultimatum to NATO members over Russia. Again, not that big of a surprise on that one. Okay. So, without any further ado, I'm just going to, because we're going to be talking about, and I have it on the slate for next week. But, or sorry, 461 is probably going to be done tomorrow, folks. Just an FYI on that. But the one of the topics we're going to be talking about next week or on the next show is going to be the fact. Oh, and by the way, the Canadian Prime Minister was sitting in the crowd when Keir Starmer announced this. Keir Starmer publicly announced that in order to deal with the quote-unquote immigrant problem, that they are going to institute a digital ID. Among the things you will not be able to do with said digital ID, if you don't have a digital ID, you will not be able to hold down a job. Period. End of story. Don't know really what to say about that, except fuck you, Keir. You know, but I mean, it was like I was sitting there when I was listening to this, and I was thinking about it this afternoon, and everybody has got a line in the sand that they're going to draw. And I'm going to get in a little bit more into this on tomorrow's show, probably. But my line in the sand is being forced to get a digital ID just so that I can work. Like, that's the line I draw. That's the line where I decide I'm leaving Canada. Now, leaving Canada might not be such an issue if Alberta separates, but that's neither here nor there. Bottom line is that that's my line in the sand, right? That's my point where I just go, yep, that's it. I'm done. I'm leaving. And I will get more into that on the show tomorrow. It will probably be tomorrow. But anyway, if Roger Hanson wants to make a little quick comment about that before we actually get into the actual show itself. Have at her, Roger.
Well, for me, I when I hear about that, I'm one of those guys who I just think it's important to say, yeah, I've been telling people this for quite a long time now. You think that because you're freaking wanting to get rid of these quote unquote immigration problems that you're taking care of the problem, but in reality the government's screwing you. They're going to give you an ID that prevents you from working if you don't have this form of ID. And it's just like with these platforms wanting, some of them even want fingerprints, but they want facial recognition for verification and stuff like that. These people are out to get your data. That's all it's about. They want more and more control, and that's what it comes down to. It's so much into wanting your data that they don't even care who the phone belongs to, as long as it is a phone that can give your facial recognition, because they want to tap into that phone no matter who it belongs to, so they can pull data from it. So that's basically all I got on the topic. Good for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's Britain for now, and like I say, I will get more into that when on tomorrow's show. But that is my line in the sand. Like, if the Prime Minister of Canada tries to introduce something like that here, I'm heading for the exit. I'm out. That's my line. That's like, boom, that's it. I start looking about going. I literally might even declare asylum as a conscientious objector. If Alberta is again, I won't get too much into it, but I mean, yeah, that is actually my line in the sand. So, without any further ado, let's just get right into this because topic number one, and this is probably not that big of a surprise for people who have some type of familiarity with Hollywood. Hollywood has been on the losing side of a lot of the cultural arguments in the past few years. The reaction of celebrities, for instance, to Charlie Kirk, which we will be covering topic number two, was just with some of them was just outright disgusting and awful in absolutely no sense or meaning of the word. So this is kind of hard to tell, but what ended up happening is that at one point, San Antonio, Texas was actually supposed to be like the Hollywood. Hollywood didn't end up becoming Hollywood because there was a number of reasons, but Texas was originally supposed to be where the Hollywood productions were going to be moved to. What ended up happening though is that they ended up moving out to LA. Some people will say it was the Jews. I just think it was it wasn't one specific reason why it happened. But what's going on at this point though is the fact that Hollywood, and this, for instance, the very meme that I'm showing, that very photo that I'm showing you on my live stream right now. I remember watching Jimmy Kimmel and the Man Show when it was out back in the early 2000s, and Jimmy Kimmel suddenly pretending to be all virtuous and defending women 15 years later and just assuming that people were going to forget. And again, we will be covering Jimmy Kimmel later on here, but this is a perfect example of what I was talking about though, right? And again, we'll get more into this. I could just go on and on and on and on and on about the number of shows that wokeness has killed. Henry Cavill and the shows that, for instance, one of the things that happened because of Charlie Kirk is that The Savant, which was supposed to get released this week, they decided to postpone it because somebody at Apple TV actually read the room, put two and two together, and realized that a TV series where all of the villains are white conservative males is probably not going to go over very well. The Savant might not come back. Jessica Chastain's a little bit pissed about it, but I mean, based on some of the stuff I've seen Jessica Chastain do over the years, she's probably a fucking woke feminist, so fuck her, right? I liked her in Zero Dark 30. Everything else that she's done has been fucking feminist girl power shit. Oh, Molly's Game was also rather interesting as well. But what can I say, man? You've got all of the stuff just with Disney. You've got woke stuff. Then you had all the woke celebrities like piping up when Ron DeSantis had put that bill in, which, by the way, was them backing defending the right of child fucking pedos to have access to kids in Florida is what it basically came down to. Other moments that stand out about Hollywood. Sundance Film Festival giving Cuties, a softcore kiddie porn movie, the giving it an award at the Sundance to own the Republicans, which is just the absolute height of goddamn stupidity. The rounding of the wagons, what happened to Gina Carano, for instance. Like, I could go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. The blacklisting of Sound of Freedom. I could go on for a while about this. To absolutely nobody's surprise, certain celebrities in Hollywood are also pretty much have had it. Hollywood is dangerous. Hollywood is expensive, or LA is expensive. California, the state, is woke as fuck. LA is not, by the way, not the most left-wing city in the United States, but it's pretty damn close. The celebrity culture is really toxic. That's where what the hell was his name? It was P. Diddy. Yeah, that's where P. Diddy was doing most of his stuff. You also had Ellen. You know what? I could just go on and on and on and on and on. And it's no big surprise that celebrities, people in LA, are just getting sick and tired of it and want to move productions elsewhere. So there is a big push right now for people to move their productions out of LA and to Texas. It's not that I can really blame them. Here's the problem. Even like the film community in the city that I live in is not particularly huge, but it's also, although much to my surprise, it wasn't as woke as I thought it was, but it is still woke AF, right? Like, I talked to a couple of people who work in this community that had to keep their heads low to avoid, in order to keep getting what little work there is here for film production. And it's toxic pretty much everywhere at this point. And can I really blame them? I gotta point out, right? Like, the film community in Texas is not a outstanding place of virtue. The film community itself is not an outstanding community of virtue and integrity, right? As I have found out, there's still a lot of problems within the film community. Wokeism is prominent everywhere in the film community, and it's actually, I've actually, for instance, I had an event here with the film group that I run, where an individual that runs another film group in this town was for several years trying to undermine me just because he could. Not because I did anything to the guy, not because he disliked me, but just because, right? And I mean, I outlasted him, and I outlasted the group. But I mean, one of the guys, there was when one of the towns in Alberta decided to eliminate the rainbow crosswalks from its community. This individual decided that he was going to put up an announcement on his board saying that we should ban artists from this town from participating in the Edmonton arts community. And I seized upon that, and I decided I was going to call him out on it. So what I did is I posted up something at my film group saying, no, I don't participate in cancel culture. I don't agree with cancel culture, right? All voices are welcome here, period, end of story. Now, you would have thought that would have ended things. It didn't. It sparked an outrage and an uproar of not epic proportions, but but bad enough, right? I had several people yell and scream at me. I had one person quit in anger. And what really stood out for me, though, is somebody in the group invited in, because you can't post up at this film group that I run unless you're allowed to, right? You have to be a member of the group to do it, right? Like, and somebody who was on that thread who was arguing with me invited this person in who started yelling and screaming and swearing at me. And it was like, okay, well, it's my group. I run it. I know exactly who's in it and what I know what the rules are. So the only way this could have happened is that one of the people I was arguing with decided to invite this person in to do it. So I had to go around. And it's the first time ever that I have had to remove people from the film group that I run for political reasons. And I really hate that because I want to say I want to be as inclusive as humanly possible, but it's I try to keep my personal biases and opinions out of the film group that I run, right? I use my opinions and my biases and that sort of thing for this. For instance, I don't even post up RPN content at that film group because that's not what it's for. And, it's unfortunate, but I mean, I had to go in and I had to ban like literally like everybody who argued with me, or even the people who knowingly gave a thumbs up to this guy who was yelling and screaming at me, because I wasn't sure who it was that had done it. Anyway, without any further ado, though, I'm done. I'm going to let Roger have his say.
Well, when it comes to Hollywood, I mean, that is probably one of the most messed up topics you could actually ever talk about. I know I get frustrated with politics, and don't get me wrong. I mean, politics today does pretty much piss me off. I'm disgusted with it. But the only thing that's worse than that is talking to people when it comes to Hollywood, because especially when it comes to the pedos. You'll find a lot of people in supposed alternative media, alternative platforms, even just streamers that love to talk about Pizzagate, and they love to talk about Epstein, and they love to talk about this person and that person, like P. Diddy. And the reason why they do it is because that is the exciting, fun thing to talk about. But when you have people who freaking do not want to hear the actual serious stories that are coming out of Hollywood about pedophiles, and they just cannot believe that their buddy freaking Charlie Sheen was a pedo who freaking molested Corey Haines. They just can't believe that. That's just not true. I just had to go over that on a show just recently where a person who talks all of this stuff just could not believe it. And then I also had a conversation with another person who was a gung-ho Trump supporter, conservative, always talking bad about pedos and all this shit. And freaking, he to this day denies the fact that Michael Jackson was a pedo that molested Macaulay Culkin, and no telling how many other little kids who he invited to his mansion to ride on the zebra. These are the serious stories. These are the things that people should know about, you know what I mean? But they should want to talk about it, but instead they want to talk about this cabal, this underground secret society of pedophiles who are writing code words so that freaking they can sell a pizza and molest a couple of teenagers while they're buying that pizza. It's just complete nonsense. It's probably the most insane conversation that you could possibly have. I don't think Epstein is 100% complete mess up, because there's a lot of stuff there too, but people don't want to talk about it. It's just like Maxwell's daughter being involved in all that, you know. When you look at Maxwell and you look at his history, this guy had deep ties with the CIA, and he also had deep ties with MI6, as well as being really influential with Mossad. And he accidentally died by falling over the side of his yacht, which I find coincidental because Epstein, you know, coincidentally hung himself in his jail cell. So you start learning about that, and then you start finding out about him getting involved with these universities when it came to research, on scientific research and stuff. And he was really obsessed with learning about how to dominate people who had insecurities and were very submissive. He was really obsessed with scientific research, which had to do with submissive behaviors. I found that pretty interesting. So those are the things that I found out just from Epstein, and those are things that don't get talked about. You never hear about that, you know. So that's the kind of stuff that I think of, and I'm not quite sure, but I think they changed their mind on doing the Hollywood thing in Texas because of a disaster that happened there on the Gulf of Mexico way back when. I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that, but I think that might have been the reasoning for that. I can check out later though what it was about.
Yeah, well, around Pizzagate, there's definitely again there's the mainstream media narrative, and then there's all of the stuff linked to Podesta and the rather suspicious behavior of that one guy who stormed in and shot a bullet in that place, and how that dude just disappeared. And all of the weird little, like, just a few too many coincidences for it to not be a conspiracy theory. And again, if it was just pizza, and we're probably getting off on a bit of a tangent here, but if it was just Pizzagate, that would be one thing. But I mean, like, you just keep digging and unearthing this stuff. And again, right, I mean, occasionally I will get asked about this. It's like, why are you so obsessed about pedophiles? It's like, well, you know what, dude? I have a character that I'm writing in a book right now. And at one point, right, he's in a coven of vampires, and he is listed there as a vampire hunter, even though he does not go out of his way to hunt vampires. And his response to this one female vampire who asks him this question is like, well, why do you hunt us? It's like, I don't hunt you. You know, you just keep appearing where I happen to be, and you keep getting in my way, right? Every time there's a lot of stuff, every time there's something bad, there's a vampire involved, right? And it's like, I don't go around hunting vampires, but if they get in my way and if they try to kill me, then I'm going to kill them, right? It's nothing personal, right? If I was a vampire hunter, I wouldn't be sitting here in this building with you right now, right? But it's the same sort of thing with this show. I don't go around looking for pedophiles, right? I'm not a pedophile hunter. I'm not a pedophile tracker, right? I'm not a guy who has a disgust with kitty dealers. But if you keep turning over stones and this keeps popping up, right? You know, like, if you start seeing enough of it go on for long enough, you kind of have to go, yeah, you know what? Maybe I should be bringing some attention to this. You know, it's like, I could say, I don't go around exposing pedophiles, but yeah, they keep popping up. And they keep popping up specifically around Hollywood, for sure. They keep popping up. But even in politics as well. But anyway, let's move on to the next
No, but
topic
hold on.
here.
Before you move on to there, let me point something else out too. There's a movie that was documentary that was put out in 2014 that I think should always be mentioned when that conversation gets up. It was called An Open Secret.
Yep, I've seen it.
Now, the reason why I bring that up is because An Open Secret was brought out, it was produced, and people put good money into it, and Hollywood point blank refused to use it. They blackballed it, and the only way that they could make it available to the public was so to offer it for free. So you don't even have to pay for this freaking movie. You just go on the internet, type up An Open Secret, and you can watch it. Watch that, and it will blow your mind when it comes to this topic and what we're talking about. Just saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I want to talk about Open Secret. That Digital Entertainment Network started in the late 90s. Now, I had I was still living in Banff at the time, and you know, we get celebrities and high up muckety mucks that come through, and I ran into this one really creepy guy, and I told him about my interest in film. He was really kind of creepy, but at the same time, he was saying some stuff that was interesting. So I actually sat down and listened to him. And what he was talking about was about how the internet was eventually going to replace television as the main source of media, and that he was involved in this project in LA that was just shooting content for the internet. And he told me what its name was, and I didn't think anything of it at the time. It wasn't until I saw An Open Secret that it was like, holy shit, like this guy was tied into that. And yeah, like,
Yep.
yeah.
Dan Snyder, that's all I gotta say.
Oh, actually, Dan Snyder was that quiet on set. Actually, that wasn't an open secret. But anyway, let's just move on to the next topic here, because yeah, we're kind of getting off on a tangent here. So the next topic, oh wow, this one is going to be big. We might be on this one for a while, or maybe we won't be, because I mean, we had to do a specific episode on. We had to do an entire episode on Charlie Kirk I think it was 458. But yeah, the story around Charlie Kirk continues. First of all, the memorial for Charlie Kirk in Phoenix, Arizona had 100,000 people. Like, the stadium couldn't hold them all. They had to have overflow and had to have services. They had to have sit-down services at several churches, have it live streamed to those churches because so many people showed up. The whole thing, and again, this is what really disgusts me. The reaction of Hollywood and various leftists. Oh, well, that was a neo-Nazi rally. It wasn't I mean, Erica Kirk, literally said on stage, and she says, "I forgive the guy," right?
Yeah.
And it was probably a very, very hard thing to do. And again, right, yes, there was a political element to it. And once again, the mainstream media took serious hits for misrepresenting the facts. And again, right, I have a feeling that the mainstream media is probably going to have to face some heat here fairly soon about this, because it's like, yeah, they just keep lying, and they lie about lying, and they lie about lying about lying, and it's just, oh, and not to mention that I believe there was a couple of bomb threats aimed at the service, and they also caught a guy impersonating a police officer at that event. And there was also rumors that a bunch of leftists were going to try to go in and shoot the event up. Obviously, they caught them, or they prevented them from doing it, or whatever. But I mean, yeah, like there was inside the stadium, it was very target rich. Elon Musk and Donald Trump shook hands and made up. You know, I didn't watch the event myself, but, a far cry from burning down cities the way that happened with BLM. And oh, by the way, yes, we will be covering that on 461, because the moment Trump moved on Rose City Antifa, which I believe was either yesterday or today, I mean, George Soros like literally simped the fuck out and publicly disavowed terrorism like almost immediately. But that's for tomorrow. The celebrities involved. Some of them, of course, we had the usual suspects: Rosie O'Donnell, George Takei, whatever. There were a lot of celebrities that just had absolute meltdowns. There was also some guys like Chris Pratt that actually came out in support of it. But Angela Jolie had a meltdown. There was a few of them, right? A group of people, again, like I was just talking about topic number one, just a group of people that are seriously out of touch with what is going on in the rest of the country, right? And that just keeps being demonstrated time and time and time again. Then, of course, you have the leftist attacks, and there was a few of them. Somebody put a bomb under a Fox News van in Salt Lake City, which was caught and detected. Somebody actually the guy was caught, by the way, took a gun and shot up the ABC affiliate in Sacramento because it wasn't going to air Charlie Kirk. And it was like what? You got to be kidding me, right? Like, is that some kind of a joke? Then you have a Palestinian talking about. I'm wondering if that was maybe it was it a Jewish wedding or something? Like, hold on a second here. Was that a Jewish wedding or something? Like, why would he do that? Right? It's like that didn't make any sense. But yeah, that happened. And then, of course, somebody took a car and tried to smash through the gate of the FBI office in Pittsburgh. And by the way, yeah, we will be doing the Dallas ICE attack. And of course, the way the media once again has gone out and lied about the shooter and tried to pass him off as a MAGA Republican, just like they did with Charlie Kirk's shooter, and are being, once again, right, it starts out, the lie gets a long ways out, but once the truth catches up, they end up losing a lot. And again, the media just continues to get pie on their face. And of course, last but not least, we can't talk about the two biggest pieces of human garbage out there. Destiny, literally on Piers Morgan, like, although he didn't laugh like he did with the Trump assassination, I mean, he did try to deflect the blame of what was happening back onto the conservatives. And again, right, Andrew Wilson and Jack Posobiec were there to like really call him out. I mean, he went so over the top though with his rhetoric that even Anna Kasparian turned on Destiny. Like, Anna Kasparian lost her patience with Destiny. And they're technically on the same side of this. Now, Hassan Piker, on the other hand, when we get to the Twitch CEO being called in to testify at Congress, Hassanabi has been low-key encouraging Palestinian terrorists for the last year or so. Hassanabi, by the way, talks a good game about being a socialist, but he makes a lot of money each year. He lives in a mansion in Los Angeles, and he's always dressed up in fashionable clothes. So I mean, it's like he's the absolute. By the way, he's also Cenk Uyghur's nephew, but I mean, he's the absolute epitome of hypocrisy. And while he's not as unironically dense as Destiny, Haas in the current environment, he's going. Both him and Destiny has, by the way, been demonetized on YouTube. Hassan Piker was demonetized on Twitch, but neither one of them got taken down, were removed. I suspect that YouTube and particular Twitch are going to have to do a little bit of explaining on that. Just saying, just saying. But yeah, that's good. That's a very interesting trend of his, and that's what's happened around Charlie Kirk in the last week. And I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Fit to take in, to be honest. I tried to look around to find out what that attack was, and I guess the only thing I could come up with was a Jerusalem shooting, which killed six people at a bus stop. I haven't found anything that's talking about any kind of wedding or anything of that nature.
I think it was a pro-Gaza protester, or whatever, who shot up a wedding. I don't know if it was a Jewish wedding or not. He killed one person, and like literally a whole bunch of people rushed him and held him down.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't know the circumstances of the wedding or why he would do that. But yeah, it is out there somewhere.
Well, when it comes to all the other stuff, like the whole, we're still on the Charlie Kirk segment, right?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are.
The memorial service thing was a trip, because I remember last time we were doing a stream together, you were showing the rallies that were taking place over in England. And I even mentioned that on Nancy's show too, because I mean, I know that doesn't sound weird to you guys, and it doesn't, but there's just something weird about that. The fact that like the rally was about immigration, and I mean, it wasn't like random amounts of people just here and there doing memorials. There were memorials all over that rally for freaking Charlie Kirk. And then worldwide too, I just, that is just weird to me, and that really stuck out when I watched that, or when we talked about that the last time, trying to figure out the best way of saying it, but that's something that really did stick to me. Now, the attacks on Fox News, with their van, and the Sacramento attack on ABC, and especially the FBI office attack. That right there, for me, it just goes back to what I've been saying about escalating. And I don't blame it on one side or the other. I think that it's both. In my country, the thing that I'm finding really bad is the fact that, like I said, we're a constitutional government. That's what we were founded on. We're classic liberalism. If you don't know what the difference is between liberalism today and liberalism originally was, go and read John Locke, and you'll find out about what that's all about. But classic liberalism was founded on constitutional government, or constitutional government is founded on classic liberalism, is the way I should say it. And at some point, maybe during the early 1900s, our country was invaded by nationalists and socialists. So now we have this, And I always want to say this because I honestly feel that it's true. There's a secret war going on that people, the general public, aren't aware of. The secret war consists of nationalist movements and socialist movements, and both of them are freaking extremists. They're very, very extreme ideologies that have created death and destruction from the late 1800s all the way up to now. Not little amounts of people have died. Huge amounts of people have died because of these two ideologies. And in this country, at one point or another, we were invaded by these two political groups, and we went from being a constitutional government that believed in classic liberalism to a national slash socialist government. Um, I was actually thinking at one point of becoming a libertarian, and I kept hearing all of these libertarians on their Facebook group talk about socialist policies and about the economy, and I'm like, I was just curious. I'm like, what do you guys think about socialism? And their best response is, it works. Well, I bet you about it. It works. Just, like no big deal. It's like freaking, it's okay, And this was back before Trump was in office. And now Trump finally in this term is starting to tout about freaking socialism and how it's becoming a problem. But the thing of it is he's part of a national movement. So, you've got one extreme or another. And these people think they have to pick between them, and you don't have to pick between them. I choose to be an independent voter who doesn't follow the nationalist movement or the socialist movement. I actually don't agree with either of them. So you have a choice. If you want to be a part of the escalation and get on the internet and talk hate mongering rhetoric, then go ahead and be a part of that. Or you can actually be on here and you can talk about constructive things that can freaking help, And I find that whenever I start talking about political history and the Constitution and the law and the way it's supposed to be and not the way it is right now. Because right now, everything's a mess. People don't know their head from a hole in the ground. So, the best thing I can say to people is read, find out what is freaking true and what is not, and know your history, know your facts. And when you have a conversation with somebody, don't get into conversations with people who want to freaking fight and argue and bitch, and that's all they want to do. If they can't come up with an intelligent conversation about political issues, don't even waste your time with them. Because those are the ones that are freaking going to eventually go out and shoot somebody because they're freaking crazy. Like that kid that supposedly shot freaking Kirk was a freaking part of the furries on the internet. That means he would get on the internet dressed up as a furry freaking character and go into chats and have conversations and play role-playing games. That's pretty crazy. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, the furry community seems to be full of a lot of very, very unstable people.
Mm-hmm.
As for yeah. Yeah, you've got the two. You've got the two factions here. On the one side, you've got Pax Americana, and that's the wing of the bird that Trump is involved with. And then, of course, on the other wing, you've got the globalists, and neither one of them. I mean, if I had to pick between the two, and I would rather not, I would probably go with Pax Americana, because at least Pax Americana, they will leave you alone as long as you're not interfering with their business interests. But I mean, that's really about the only. I mean, I would prefer not to have to pick between either of those two. Because to quote Sam Tripoli, that's the ceremonial changing of crime families is basically what's going on there. But anyway, and I will also say this. While I've generally agreed with Charlie Kirk, I am also an atheist, right? And I'm also starting to see, and by the way, they never fully disappeared, and they're starting to make a comeback now. But the fundamentalist Christian right has attached their car to this new wagon that's coming, and they're not prominent right now. But just remember, at one point in time, right, with feminism, for instance, uh, like the misandric, man-hating feminists did not own or dominate feminism for the longest time. They just kind of quietly took over, right? I mean, it might not happen right away, but give it in 10, 15 years' time, right? I mean, the right is going to be just as bad. And basically, you're just going to see it flipping around again, is probably what's going to happen here. But yeah, given enough time, you're going to see that faction on the right, like the actual full-blown white supremacist Christian fundamentalists, Bible thumping, Jesus is the only way, and blah, like that particular type of crowd. You're going to see that crowd make a comeback. You are. Although it's not happening, it's obviously not the case right now. But again, right? People said that about feminism. Oh no, those man-hating feminists, they're never going to run the show. Well, guess what? Now they are. Right? So there you go. Anyway, unless anybody else says,
Just me and you.
Roger has anything else to say, we're going to move on to the next topic here. So the next topic. Oh, look at that. We were just talking about him too. But I mean, I get that Roger's got a few axes, got a couple of axes to grind with Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have to agree with Trump on this one. Antifa absolutely needed to be declared as a terrorist organization. Of course, I saw all the Antifa crowd on Threads making a bunch of grandstanding, but I got to point out, it was Antifa that caused, Antifa and BLM that caused most of the damage back in 2020, right? And in particular in Portland, they were able to get away with a lot of stuff because not only were they very large and very organized, but they also had the deadly combination of having both the state and the municipal government basically agreeing with them and allowing them to do whatever the hell they wanted. That is not the case anymore. Like, Antifa was clearly harassing the employees at the ICE facility in Salem, Oregon. And, they also participated in the riots that were taking place in LA. And as much as some people dislike Trump, something had to be done. George Soros and the Ford Foundation and a few other billionaires are quite clearly funneling money, and this is basically almost like it's effectively a criminal organization, except their goal is to destabilize the United States. And something had to be done. And the easiest, most obvious target, obviously, was Rose City Antifa, because they were the largest and most organized Antifa group in North America. Yeah, probably in North America. And so they went and hit them today. But I'm seeing a lot of stunning and brave Antifa protesters making a bunch of big, huge, grandstanding statements on Threads. And I don't know about Blue Sky because I never use Blue Sky, and I will never use Blue Sky. But yeah, there was. This is long overdue. Whenever I see somebody from Antifa posting up, I just post back to them. I say, "Yeah, you assholes, the fucking party's over," right? Like the state doesn't have your fucking back anymore. I'm surprised the Proud Boys haven't come back yet. They might. But I mean, it's like, yeah, like the state no longer has their back. Public opinion no longer has their back. You're not going to have Jerry Nadler and Democrats in Congress that are going to be stupid enough to deny that Antifa doesn't exist when they quite clearly do. Like that's not gonna go over very well with them. So yeah, if there is a group that absolutely needed to be dealt with in North America, it was Antifa. Again, they are not nearly so active in Canada as they are in the US. But again, right, they were getting propped up and astroturfed by George Soros. And the moment Trump moved on, I believe it was Rose City Antifa in Oregon, right? First thing that George Soros apparently did, and I haven't, like I say, I can't confirm. I've just heard this from one source, so it's not actual solid confirmed news yet. But George Soros immediately disavowed international terrorism the moment the FBI did that. So yeah, I think George Soros knows that the jig is up again, right? If you're going to try to work to destabilize a country, going after Antifa, going after the United States works what might have worked okay if Biden or Kamala Harris had stayed in power, but it's not Biden or Kamala Harris, it's Trump. And yeah, I hate to say it, but I hate to give news to any of the leftists out there that are listening to the show, but I think Trump is done fucking around. Antifa, your new logo is FAFO. Fuck around, find out. And I think it's about time that they found out. That's just me. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Well, I mean, first I want to say, hate is a pretty powerful word. When it comes to Trump, I don't hate Trump. I just pay attention to the things that have been taking place. And I actually started out having hope in Trump, I actually voted for Trump. If you'd remember, I voted for Trump because of the way he was being treated before he became president, and the fact that these people on the left were freaking going after him like a witch hunt, and the things they were doing in court and things of that nature, I did have my issues with Trump in the past over other things besides what he's been doing recently, but that wasn't even close to the stuff that's going on now, and I ended up not voting for him the first time for a lot of reasons. Back whenever I voted for him when he got into office, but after freaking not when he got, I didn't vote for him when he got into office, but afterwards, whenever he was trying to run again, he was running against Biden, and I remember voting for him then because I didn't want Biden to get in office, but he ended up getting into office. Then this time I voted for him again because of the stuff that was happening. So I actually did, I did freaking support him to a certain degree. But the thing of it is like when he got into office and the things that he was doing with Elon Musk, that was a big deal. You know what I mean? Whenever they were going in, they were doing audits of the government that was a big deal. And when they had a falling out, I'm not saying I'm an Elon Musk fan. I'm just saying that freaking he did an about turn right before that happened because he started freaking getting into wanting to do this whole immigration thing. And he took all that money that was freaking pulled out of all of these agencies like USAID and he funneled it right back into the government so that he could freaking finance this immigration. So he turns around and he takes all of that wasted money that was being freaking used by the Democrats and he funnels it back into the government so that he can expand it and create freaking a bigger freaking immigration policy. Okay? So he went and he just transferred big government from one area to another area, and by the time he did that, the funds were worthless. Now that money would have been more useful if he would have actually taken that money and gave it back to the taxpayers who got ripped off by it. Because then, first of all, he would have redistributed the money a second time, which our money is inflated. They've been pushing out the dollar bill left and right to the point where it's freaking worthless, almost. All right. But if they would have reintroduced it again, it would have built up the dollar a little bit, and people who are hard-earning, tax-paying citizens would have actually had a little bit of money in their pocket that they could spend, which would stimulate the freaking economy, you know. But no, we can't do that. We got to take all that money and we got to put it right back into a freaking government program so that we can freaking push an agenda that freaking doesn't benefit freaking American citizens whatsoever. I don't care what anybody says. It just doesn't. Okay? I don't support Homeland Security. Never did support Homeland Security. They used the Patriot Act. They used Homeland Security. And they freaking did that so that they could go in and invade people's freaking houses, ship them off to Guantanamo Bay, guilty or not, put bags over their head, and then freaking make them wait before they could determine if they were freaking terrorists or not. So there were innocent people sitting in this freaking camp with a bag over their heads, sitting in a freaking cage. Until freaking the government decided, and this was before Trump. And then what does he do? He turns around, he's gonna open up Guantanamo Bay and freaking send these people there. Oh, they're hardcore criminals. Whatever, dude. That place should have never freaking existed after the shit we learned from them. After we learned what was going on in Guantanamo Bay, it should have been shut down. Okay, for good. But it wasn't. And this is the kind of stuff these people are wanting to get into. You know what I mean? They're wanting to get into this. These are nationalist movements. These aren't freaking anything other than being an ethno-nationalist. And that's what all of them are about. They're all about freaking your ethnics. They're all about your gender. They're all about freaking this and that. You've got, everybody's always talking about Israel, okay? Israel is, yes, an nationalist government. So's all the freaking governments that are the Palestinians. South Africa was an ethno-nationalist government, you know? You hear about balkanization and stuff that took place there. That led up to World War I and World War II, all ethno-nationalist governments, you know. This is the stuff that freaking I know and I see when I watch the news. It turns my stomach because it's right there in my face, you know. And when you try to have a conversation with people about this stuff, they have absolutely no clue what you're talking about, or they just don't want to hear it because they've got their own narratives. Oh, I'm a good Republican. I'm going to listen to what the Republicans say. You know, no, that's not the way it works for me, and I'll never be that person, you know. So I don't have a hatred for Trump. It's the things that he started doing when it came to that. Now, Antifa has been an illegal organization since the anarchists became an illegal organization back when they tried to bomb Rockefeller's headquarters. That was well over 125 years ago, I believe, or maybe a little bit less time. But from that time, to my understanding, anarchist movements have been illegal for most of the Western freaking governments since that. And with that, if you don't believe me, check out the anarcho-syndicalism groups that were taking place, and what those are all about. So I don't really understand why people are all of a sudden saying, well, we've got to make, Antifa a terrorist group. They've already been declared a terrorist group, and that's not even an argument. You know what I mean? Anarchy. I used to think of myself as an anarchist when I was younger. I'd listen to freaking the Misfits, and I'd listen to freaking Sid Vicious and all of them cool dudes. Johnny Rotten, and get into the whole punk scene. But that's not what it's about. It's far from that. It's not about punk music or anything like that. That's not being an anarchist. And just because they put the anarchist sign up on the walls and stuff doesn't mean that they're anarchists. Anarchists is completely the opposite of that. Their ideology is pretty close to the freaking socialists. As a matter of fact, they merged at one point with the socialists, but the socialists kicked them out because they were too extreme. So that's something that people need to find out, what these people are, before they start calling themselves anarchists, because you don't want to be an anarchist in real life. So that's what I learned from years of growing up and figuring out what it is. And yeah, they've been illegal for at least 100 years now, so I don't see the point of making that even an issue. He should have gone after him the first chance that he got. As a matter of fact, whenever he was getting his inauguration and all these Antifa members were in Washington burning frickin' the neighborhoods and shit and causing campfires and beating up conservatives in the street, that's when he should have been arresting him. You know what I mean? Because it's illegal for you to be an anarchist movement in the United States. I don't know why that changed and why people stopped enforcing that law, but Antifa is a disgrace to freaking the American government and any government that allows it in the Western civilized world. That includes England, France, freaking Canada, Germany. All of us were all part of Western society, so it's just a thought. I'm gonna shut up now.
Yeah, Roger, be quiet. Even though you're on the show where you're supposed to talk.
Well, I know you were falling asleep because I could hear you snoring in the background, so I had to stop.
Yeah.
That was getting pretty freaking bad. Like, that dude just kept running his mouth and talking boring shit.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic here. The show's going pretty quick tonight, by the way. Might not get a chance to use all my photos again. Okay, this next one, and it does tie into topic. It does tie into Charlie Kirk, and again, right? It is kind of hard to not notice, for instance, but Twitch. And by the way, we had a conversation at the end of the previous show about how Twitch has been conducting their business, and about how, I will probably continue to live stream on Twitch because what the hell, right? Under no circumstances am I going to make it my main channel ever. but what again, and you can see because it's the guy on the camera right now. It's the guy on the right. Hasanabi is one of the biggest content producers on Twitch. Okay, Twitch is and isn't as censorious as YouTube. Twitch was brought up. It was supposed to be an alternative to YouTube. It didn't end up being that way. I mean, for instance, they never save any of my videos. They don't archive them or anything like that, which kind of makes my presence on here pointless. But what's happened is that the CEO, because specifically, and Hasanabi, there's a few other streamers on Twitch as well that have been openly calling for violence and being pro-Palestinian and you got to keep in mind here when it comes to me and the whole Israeli situation, I don't have a dog in that fight. You know, do I think the Israelis are squeaky clean? No, I think that Hamas was allowed to storm into Israel to a great degree. I have no idea how Netanyahu has managed to stay in power. At the same time, though, when Hamas stormed into Israel, it would probably not have been a good idea for them to A, take hostages, and B, just start shooting people up because they happen to be Jewish, right? Like, both sides in this have stuff to be concerned about. And again, right, from the river to the sea, Palestine should be free. And this is, I'm not gonna lie about it, man. Like, that is a direct call for genocide of the Israeli people. Like, there's no other way around it. Now, Netanyahu is, oh, by the way, Netanyahu also had some rather suspicious reactions to Charlie Kirk, which I haven't really covered very much because I think Charlie Kirk kind of had some suspicions about what was going on with the government of Israel. But I mean, yeah, don't the see. And by the way, this is also like, I mean, Susan Wojcicki. I mean, the CEO of Google got called in to testify, but Susan Wojcicki was never forced to go in and testify in front of Congress about how YouTube was practicing the thing. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact, and Hasanabi is just the most prominent face, but there's a lot of Twitch content producers that, and again, I don't know because I don't watch Twitch very much, open calls for violence, and Twitch has not lifted so much as a finger to stop it. And yeah, I think given, again, right, this new crime family that is currently operating in DC doesn't take a liking to it very much. So yeah, so now the CEO of Twitch has to testify in front of Congress about how he's been conducting his business. And they managed to get, I mean, when this stuff starts, for instance, Jack Dorsey read the room and decided to leave and sell to Elon Musk. Mark Zuckerberg backed the fuck down. YouTube changed their mind and then unchanged their mind about, although I'm currently waiting to see if my old YouTube channel does get restored. That'd be a bit of a shock if it did now, because they changed their mind. But it's like, yeah, Twitch, though, has not actually responded in any kind of way. They've been pretty much leaving Hasanab, not so much anymore, but for about a week and a half or so, they pretty much left Hasanabi. Hold on a second. I don't know what it is about and this is just this might just be a bit of a sidebar discussion, but every time I went to see again, right? I went to see The Long Walk because I read the book and it was a decent movie. But unfortunately, when I go to a movie, I usually have the hot dogs. I don't have the popcorn because every time I have popcorn, have that movie popcorn at a movie, I end up I have a dry, scratchy throat, and I will have a dry, scratchy throat and irritated esophagus for like a couple of days afterwards if I have the cinema popcorn. But that's just an aside. Yeah, Twitch has got some Twitch has got some explaining to do, and the CEO of Google and the CEO of YouTube, and at some point, I'm gonna have to imagine that the folks running Reddit are gonna have their feet put to the fire as well. But yeah, like all of these leftists. Oh, Quora, there's another one. Quora's got a very leftist bias as well. Oh, and let's not even get started about Wikipedia. Like the CEO of Wikipedia has openly declared that he's a fucking leftist, right? And Wikipedia has taken a huge hit to its credibility by doing that. So it's like, yeah, you're like seeing all of these people, but I mean, like if you're going to have people on your platform and you're not going to crack the whip on people that are openly calling for cultural and political violence in the name of whatever on your site. By the way, open calls to action are not protected under the First Amendment. You have freedom of speech, but if you make open calls to violence or open calls to kill someone or open calls to cause harm or destruction or interfere with another person's pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in the U.S., you are violating the First Amendment. So yeah, Twitch has got some explaining to do in this regard. And yeah, the First Amendment, although there will be lawyers that will attempt to try to say that the First Amendment protects him, it actually doesn't. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Right. So on that, I've been curious about this whole thing about YouTube because I've been hearing it going around. I haven't had time to really check out the true story on it, so I went ahead and kind of shot it up there and seen what it said about this whole thing that happened with YouTube. So here, I'll read a little bit of it. It's not too long, but
well, actually, it's going to be covered in 461. But go ahead.
In September 2025, YouTube's parent company, Google, responded to an investigation by the House Judiciary Committee regarding censorship and its terms of service. The company admitted that the Biden administration pressured it to remove content and agreed to reinstate accounts that had been banned for expressing political speech related to COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic, and the 2020 election. Now, Congress subpoenas the committee led by Chairman Jim Jordan subpoenaed Google for information about its communication with the Biden administration and internal records. Now, when it comes to government pressure, in a letter to the committee, Google acknowledged that repeated and sustained outreach from Biden administration officials to remove content that did not violate its policy was unacceptable and wrong. policy shift. In response to the oversight, YouTube announced it would offer previously banned accounts an opportunity to return to the platform. This action reflects a broader shift among major tech companies to address allegations of political censorship. Now, when it comes to third-party fact-checkers, Google told the committee it would not use third-party fact-checkers to label or remove content, an issue raised by Republican lawmakers in their long-running investigation. Now, when it comes to this repeated and sustained outreach from Biden administration officials, I've also heard that it was mentioned in the letter that these people were not just outreach, whatever they call it. They would get obnoxious, hateful calls from people who are government officials talking like freaking wild men or wild women, freaking calling them all sorts of hateful names and stuff in their freaking CEO's office. You know, these were high-ranking people within freaking Google that were getting these phone calls from these politicians who are supposed to behave in a professional manner, okay? Demanding that they take this account off or that account off and calling them freaking every name known under the book. So, like, I'm not exonerating YouTube because I don't like YouTube one bit. Even though I'm still streaming on them and everything, I will call them some low-life piece of shits. Okay, just like I say that about Stripe now after I found out what they've been doing. They're freaking horrible. They go through and do that same censorship shit with monetization. You know, they just, and it doesn't even matter if you freaking monetize or not on a platform. They want these platforms to show the data of every person who is on their platform so that they can determine ahead of time if those people are eligible for monetization or not, supposedly, you know. So I don't agree with that, and they're all doing it. It's horrible. And I suggest that you don't freaking support the stuff. You don't sit there and be a part of it. Don't think that you can get involved with any of these people and actually do something that pertains to that kind of thing. I do my streaming and I do my editing and my videos. I do it because I enjoy doing it. If something comes out of it, then fine. I'm cool with that. But I don't plan on becoming a millionaire off of it. I've actually started a series called Untethered, and in one part of it, I have a episode once out of 12 episodes. 4 out of 12 episodes called The Internet's a Scam, dude. Which I point blank proved to everybody that they're freaking idiots if they don't think the internet is a scam, because it is. There's no way you're going to make more money off the internet than what you invest into it. It will always win. That even includes the price that it took you to pay for the computer that you freaking have. Okay? All of it. So, with that, I'm going to shut up again.
Yeah, shut up again. All right.
That's right. I can't get too serious on these shows because people are freaking not gonna like that. They want to hear us talking about sex and stuff.
Oh, well, unfortunately Rearson can't
Yeah, I know.
can't do his gimp suit thing at this point because he's in a public he's staying at a public hostel at the moment. Might get some strange looks, with the gimp suit and everything. The aliens are leaving him alone too. The aliens might consider abducting somebody other than Rearson, but apparently they're not going to do it. So, yeah, there's that. By the way,
technically, I mean, just being honest, Canada, hostile. Shouldn't he be wearing a gimp suit?
Yep. Anyway, also by the way, new sponsor, Trump Busters, and this is specifically for the people who have terminal TDS and see Donald Trump everywhere, even in places. And yeah, I've seen a lot of this on social media. Like people will drag Trump into everything. Are you one of those people who just sees Trump everywhere? Like, are you one of those people that checks under the bed to see if MAGA is hiding under your bed? Are
Right.
you somebody who will drag MAGA
I pray.
into a conversation about hot dogs
Yes.
or sex toys?
Yes.
Are you one of those type of people that will do that?
Yes.
Well, if you see MAGA everywhere, even in shit that has absolutely nothing to do with MAGA, and you're so paranoid about MAGA that you're checking for MAGA in your closet and under your bed, MAGA busters will go in and they will get out their cyclo packs and they will blast that MAGA out of your house, and they will give you a lifetime supply of Trump and all and Orange Man Bad hand balm so that you can just get it the fuck out of your system, get outside and touch grass. That's right, Trump busters.
Bitch ass.
Yeah, and don't forget, it's also by the same people who supply you with from Tinfoil Hats or Us. In fact, if you order this service from us using our special code MAGA, you will also get a stylish ceremonial tinfoil hat to save you from the alien abductions that are also taking place. Because it means you see MAGA everywhere, then you're probably seeing aliens everywhere too, right? They will provide you with a free tinfoil hat. Thank you very much for telling me your balls itch. That was very important news.
Sorry, I meant tingles. Makes my balls tingle. I didn't mean itch. I would never say that in public.
All right. So that's right. So yeah, MAGA busters, get your free complimentary tinfoil RS hat if you order the MAGA service today. And again, don't forget, we will also throw in the Trump and all TDS drug and the Orange Man Bad hand balm for the people that really want to be delusional about Trump. And with that, we will go on to the next. We'll get into the next segment, which is. Oh, look at that! I was initially going to throw this in under topic 2. Unfortunately, Hollywood and the left just absolutely lost their shit. I got to point out something about Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel is probably the least funny of the 3 late night. I mean, they've been talking. People on the right have been talking about how bad the late night funny guys are for a few years now. Kimmel's ratings have been plummeting. And Kimmel has been warned multiple times to lay off the Trump shit and won't do it. Also, and I'm going to go back to the very first post that I made tonight. I'm just going to briefly put this up. Was hypocritical standing up for women's rights while at the same time being a former host of The Man Show. Now, The Man Show was a little bit lowbrow. It had its funny moments, but it just didn't quite click, right? But yeah, again, they were like, oh no, it was like, and by the way, it's also now been conclusively shown that the government didn't have a say in it. Again, though, the mainstream media and Hollywood celebrities, particularly Stephen Colbert, accused the Trump administration of taking Jimmy Kimmel off the air. The only problem is that Jimmy Kimmel did this to Jimmy Kimmel. It wasn't anything that the FAA did, the FCC, sorry, did to ABC, right? This was a decision done by ABC. The Trump administration did not call ABC and get him removed. Kimmel's ratings have been going into the toilet now for a few years. And anybody who has the wherewithal to pull their head out of their ass and check knew this. Again, right, the mainstream media and the idiots in Hollywood hold on a second. Yeah, god damn it. Remind me never to have that goddamn cinema popcorn ever again, right? Like my throat's been dry and scratchy all goddamn day.
Yeah, that's from the popcorn.
Yeah, no, that, I don't know what it's like down in the US, but the cinema popcorn, when I have it here, and it's just with the major movie theater complexes, right? Like their cinema popcorn always ends up causing me to feel like a little bit nauseous. And like every time I have popcorn at the movies, not because there is a couple of smaller movie theaters that use different style of popcorn, but the stuff that they're ordering from, I guess it must either be the butter or it must be the popcorn itself. But whenever I have the popcorn at the movies, which is why I have the hot dogs, it always ends up causing my throat to be like scratchy and irritated for a day or two afterwards, which is why I generally avoid the popcorn. At least here in Canada, anyway. I don't know what it's like down in the US. But anyway, getting back to, I mean, again, they lied and they lied and they lied and they lied and they lied, just like they're lying about the ICE shooter, just how they're also lied about Tyler Robinson. And, you know, because of what's going on and because of current circumstances, you know, people are just getting a little bit sick and tired of the lying, right? You know, Kimmel lost his job because his ratings were going down, because his show wasn't funny. None of the late night funny people, except maybe for the guy over at Fox, Greg Kimmel, none of them are very particularly funny. In fact, most of them are actually kind of boring. I can sort of kind of tolerate Greg Kimmel, but he's the only one, right? And again, I don't watch Kimmel very much at all. You know, what do you want me to say? I mean, again, right? We're seeing something, and when we get to the end of the year, right? Like, first of all, at some point, maybe even right now, online advertising revenue is now either equal to or surpassed the ad revenue that you're getting on television. And it is going to absolutely blow past TV revenue next year. Like, it's not even going to be in the same ballpark. So, I mean, you know, media is going to have to do something to change their approach on this, because they just don't have the influence that they used to have, and it's waning really badly. And instead of just like changing how they do their business, they're expecting the government to save their asses. And it's like, well, no, right? I mean, the internet has got some certain advantages. One of them being, for instance, this show, we're not confined by language police. We're not confined to having to stay and get everything into a 30-minute time slot. We got the time to pontificate about this and talk about Rearson wearing gimp suits and tinfoil hats, and the fact that, you know, V for some strange reason likes to bang land whales. I mean, he doesn't look particularly good in a onesies, and we can talk about that quite freely on the show, and we can also advertise for the Fagwar 6969, right? With the special vibration attachment for women, and the fact that it comes in pink, bright pink, powder blue, and 69 shades of brown. So it's like we can talk about stuff like that here. We can't do that on television, right? So it's a dying medium. These guys aren't funny. They have stopped being funny for a few years now, and part of it is because it's like, again, right, this act that guy, I think it was Smith Dawes or something like that passed at the end of 2012. I can't remember the specific name of it. I will look that up here in just a second to find out. Oh, the Smith Modernization Act. Yes, that's what it was. That allowed media to propagandize as opposed to actually either entertaining or informing. That's coming back to haunt them, because it's like, the networks are taking huge amounts of money from the government to be propaganda tools for the state, as opposed to, say, coming up with really original content. Same thing with a lot of these woke shows, right? Like, there are shows out there, and this is something that specifically occurred with for instance, the Savant, where somebody actually had the brains to read the room and figured out, you know what, it's maybe, and had enough brains to read the room and go, well, maybe we shouldn't be having a TV series where every single villain is a white conservative male, right? That type of thing. So, anyway, and by the way, he was only suspended for a day, and then he came back. And then, of course, what happened is that a bunch of leftists came on and gloated about it. And by the way, we will also be talking about this in 461. Two of the major affiliates refused to air the show. So he is back, but he's only back to something like 75% of the country, because two of the major affiliates, Nexstar and Sinclair Media, decided not to run him anymore. So, damage is done. Jimmy Kimmel is on life support, and we won't even necessarily get into the other issues that Jimmy Kimmel has or his hypocrisy. But there's a lot going down here. I have a bone to pick with cancel culture. I think both myself and Roger have both been victims of cancel culture in one form or another. So I've got very mixed feelings about it, but it's like, at the same time, having been a victim of it, and seeing people on the left finally having to deal with the problem, the amount of sympathy that I feel for someone like, especially for a guy like Kimmel, is exceedingly limited. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
All right, I got bad news for you, but I know you've been working a lot in the last week or so, but they brought Jimmy Kimmel back just here recently.
I did say that they brought him back.
Okay, just wanted to double check and point that out. Yeah, it sucks. That was like really, really good. It was really, really good news when I heard that he was taken off the air. And I agree too when it comes to the Man Show. This guy was freaking just a straight up freaking a dog. when he first started out. He got famous because of the man show, chicks on trampolines, and when it comes to like how he was with kids, I remember he had this one little fat kid. He'd have him go out on the street and just act freaking inappropriate and rude to everybody, and he would have him freaking videotaping him. The kid couldn't have been no older than maybe 13 years old. And he just thought it was just so funny, stuff like that. And now all of a sudden, he's supposed to be like the guardian of freaking women and freaking he cares about children. And I understand about his freaking child's health and everything. See, the difference between me and Jimmy Kimmel is I'm not going to say something hurtful about a man who's just murdered, just like I'm not going to say something hurtful against his son who freaking took and was treated because he got donations from these liberal groups, and that's why he touts all of his progressive freaking bullshit, is because he's a sellout shill who freaking only reason why he's on television is because freaking he's getting paid to freaking push propaganda saying that it's freaking comedy, But you're not going to hear me say that, because I'm really glad to know that, his son was able to be treated and the bills got paid for by these special interest groups who took care of that for him. It's better than having, a child die because of freaking a fatal illness. But see, that's the difference between me and Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel has no dignity. He has no ethics. He freaking is just that same freaking pervert on the man show who freaking loves to see girls on trampolines. But now he has to be dignified and pretend like he's somebody he's not so that he can get a paycheck. That's what it is with him. It's what it is with a lot of these guys who are like that. I hate freaking comedy so much now, and I used to love it. I used to love watching Saturday Night Live, and now freaking I find out that they were the biggest of all the shills out there. They were the ones who were pushing all that freaking that leftist bullshit from the get-go. And this goes all the way back. This is even before freaking this whole woke thing. They've been doing it since well into the freaking late 80s, early 90s. I never even thought about it. It was still funny at least. Now when you get on here and you watch these late night shows, it's not even worth watching because it's taking pot shots at somebody politically. It's like that's supposed to be funny. Yeah, no, it's not funny. I'm sick.
Yeah, it's Greg Gutfeld is the only one that I can kind of tolerate.
Gutfeld. I mean, the thing of it is I'm gonna start freaking installing a lot of stuff Gutfeld does. You know what I mean? Because freaking I've been noticing people freaking. I mentioned Gutfeld on Censorship Sucks. Now they're always talking about Gutfeld. And I'm like, dude, freaking that's not even cool. That was my idea. I love Gutfeld because he is funny when it comes to political jokes, you know what I mean? And he's not crazy like a lot of the other people are. But like, when he puts out a topic and he just says, go, and everybody has to talk, I love that. He'll throw his topic out and he'll say, go. And then everybody will say, and there's a couple of other people who did it before, but not like Gutfeld. He's cool about it, because he does it in a funny way. So I'm thinking about doing that eventually. But yeah, you're right. He's a real comedian when it comes to that stuff because he does it with freaking dignity and freaking he's got an ethics when it comes to that shit. So I'm just gonna shut up so we can get on to the last topic because we're at the good spot actually. This is where the good politics come into play. NATO and Russia.
Oh, yeah. Last topic of the night. Yep. All right. So let's get into the last topic of the night because this one might actually go on for a while.
Mhm.
Uh, it might go on for a while or it might end fairly quickly. This is where you have to start looking at, and again, to quote Sam Tripoli, the ceremonial changing of the crime families. Trump had to have known that this whole thing with there's no way that Trump or people in the Trump administration did not know about the Azov battalion and about the reasons why Russia had to intervene in eastern Ukraine because of the actions of and by the way, social media. I literally had my account suspended on Facebook twice for posting up stuff about the Azov battalion. I had at one point, which is by the way why I no longer tied the two accounts together. I posted up something about the Azov battalion on Instagram, and I had both my Instagram and my Facebook suspended at the same time within about a day of each other.
Mhm.
So yeah, they knowingly overlooked stuff around the Azov battalion, for instance. And the fact that Russia did have step in. Now, was Putin a saint? No. Uh, Putin's political rivals had a very bad habit of becoming unalived around Putin, which is the same thing. I mean, kind of makes me wonder necessarily about how Netanyahu has also somehow managed to stay in power, why there's never really been a strong political rival come up in Israel over Netanyahu. A lot of Putin's rivals have, including Perezhogin, whose aircraft suddenly exploded midair, and there is an actual video, and I actually have it on one of my old shows of the aircraft going down, and it looks. The first thing I did when I looked at that particular video was I was reminded very specifically about the attack on Okinawa and about the kamikaze pilots that that were attacking the planes. And there was one particular scene in that World War II footage where you saw a kamikaze zero getting shot down, and it's spinning the same way that Perezhogin's plane was spinning when it came down. And I can't help but think that there's a strange similarity between those two that almost suggests that the plane was shot down. I found that really very old. I also found that very interesting because one of the other things that occurred with this is the fact that it's just yeah. I mean, I know a little bit about Putin's past. Putin at one point was working for the KGB in East Germany, and he came up with a couple of ideas that were just absolutely twisted, like how to pass on poison sexually. And of course, the whole idea just got rejected because there's no way that you could do that and not kill both people. But I mean, he's a ruthless motherfucker. Now, Zelensky, on the other hand, is a globalist puppet. There's human trafficking going on in the Ukraine. The Azov battalion and some other right-wing paramilitary groups were allowed to pretty much run around East Ukraine and commit atrocities for months before the Russians stepped in. And I will give Zelensky and Putin credit. At least they ended the bullshit with 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 COVID, which was really starting to get out of hand. But I mean, it was just like, wow, like just, you know, uh, Trump had to have known that a lot of the stuff around the Russia Ukraine situation was astroturf. Trump has not been able to end the situation. Even I also got to point out that it was the Biden administration that blew up the in all likelihood it was the Americans that blew up the Nord Stream pipeline in the north in the Baltic. And of course, all right, Western Europe is now got no other choice but to buy their gas either from, because Russia's the closest available market for it. They're having to buy it from Russia because Russia is a more stable resource than, say, the Middle East is. And Donald Trump, and I suspect this isn't just a morality move by Trump, but Trump has pretty much laid it out for the members of NATO, whom, by the way, in particular Germany and France and Britain as well now under Keir Starmer, have been doing everything they can to poke the Russian bear into starting a war. And Trump is trying to end this, and it's like he's like going, well, you know what? Like, maybe it's like you guys need to stop buying oil and gas from Russia. And like you need to get it elsewhere, like from the Middle East or something, or Nigeria or some other place, or Canada. By the way, Carney and any liberals that I'm talking to, where do you get your oil and gas from right now? You get it from Alberta. And how are you getting it out there right now? You're having to do it via rail car, when a pipeline would probably have been very, very useful to Canada right about now. But no, Justin Trudeau and now Mark Carney have to have their green whatever and block pipelines, which, by the way, is one of the reasons why Alberta is pushing for independence from Canada. So this is just like, as you can clearly see, as I'm stepping further and further away, this whole thing is just cannonballing or dominoing. Hold on.
You're right.
This whole thing is just dominoing out of control. And Trump is, at least from all appearances, attempting to come up with a solution. And he's not getting a whole lot of support from the other members of NATO. And again, it could just be optics. But I mean, again, Trump's a pretty good guy at being able, he wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. Trump is very good at working out deals, right? And I have noticed that this time around, he seems to be a lot more familiar with the apparatus of government and hiring the right people and bringing in the right people to support him, as opposed to just listening to what the advisors have been telling him. So, yeah, he is trying to come up with a solution here, and he has to come up with a solution for a very good reason, right? And that reason is that if World War III breaks out between, say, the BRIC nations and the West, there's a very good possibility that if one side actually starts to lose, they will resort to using nuclear weapons. And once nuclear weapons have been deployed, there's no telling how far it's going to go. So you have another mutually assured destruction scenario here. And for any of the fucking idiots who keep making excuses, oh, well, only 10% of the Russian nuclear missile arsenal works. Well, and I believe Roger remembers this as well. At the peak of the Cold War, there were enough nuclear warheads between the United States and just between the United States and Russia that the world's population could be killed 40 times over. 30, I think it's 30 or 40 times over. So if only 10% of the nuclear arsenal is available in both of those countries, the world population can still be killed, but it's only 3 times over, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely certain that you're all really reassured by that. So you can only die 3 times now instead of 40 times if a full-scale nuclear war happens. And by the way, the moment one side starts to lose, the nuclear option becomes viable.
Yep.
Right? And Trump is definitely aware of this, and he's basically trying. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses for the guy, but I mean, he clearly understands that and is trying to do what he can to avoid having it go that far. Fortunately, the Ukrainians gave up all their nuclear weapons, so it's grateful for that happening. But wow, man, something's got to be done about the warmongers in Europe, because it's like, because I'm familiar with the early history of both the early history of World War II and the early history of World War I. And it only took one particular nation to suddenly decide that they weren't going to allow their diplomats to resolve the issue for things to boil out of hand, right? Like Kaiser Wilhelm, the diplomats during the whole Russia-Austrian thing, before the start of World War I, were really working hard to come up with a diplomatic solution. And Kaiser Wilhelm basically tossed the table over because the Germans at that point actually had a military plan which would have enabled them to win. And they thought, and part of that strategy, my understanding is part of that strategy with Wilhelm, was in order for them to win, though, they had to act quickly. So they had to sabotage the political process to do it. It only takes one bad player in the international community to decide to not allow the diplomats to solve the problem. And you have World War III. And, once that genie is out of the bottle, there's no telling when it will be put back in, if it would ever be put back in. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Yeah, I just finished doing a show with Ed Worthy, and we finished up Roger's Real Time Talk Show event, and that deals with political history. And we had just done political history in Europe, starting from the French Revolution all the way up until currently what's going on with the EU. And there's a whole lot of stuff in there, so we didn't cover all of it, but we covered a lot of the important things. And I think when it comes to the First and the Second World War, what people need to really look at is first you need to look at revanchism and what that is. And like I'd always talked about the Weimar Republic and the French occupation of Germany during that period, because they were trying to force their labor into paying reparations. But it even goes farther back than that. It goes to the Napoleonic Wars, when Napoleon had occupied Berlin. That created what they called revanchism, where there was resentment between the two countries. And then that eventually escalated. Before the Weimar Republic, it was um, the Franco Austro War, where Germany had occupied territories that were formerly a part of France, and it was back and forth. But then while that was going on, nobody paid attention to uh, freaking the Balkans. They didn't understand what was happening there. You had things like pan-Slavic belief systems, and then you had pan-Russianism, which was like a bigger form of pan-Slavics, where they vowed that Russia was the protector of all the Slavs. So what that did is that freaking created a nationalist movement, where Russia became the central and most important part of pan-Russianism. Now, when you take a look at Germany, okay, you take a look at Germany and you see what was going on in World War II, you've got to really be careful about that, and you got to ask yourself what was real and what was just propaganda. When you first start out with them, you want to look at Bismarck. Bismarck was the strategy behind the unification of Germany the first time. He strategically planned wars ahead of time so that he could unify Germany into one central country, because before that they were like a loosely confederation of states that made up Germany. But he was able to unify them, and he did that with planned freaking wars that he planned out ahead of time. After that, he turned around and he created this being a monarchy that was conservative, and back then that meant they supported the monarchy, which was the king. This being that kind of a country, freaking, he was smart. He actually stopped socialist and anarchist movements from occurring in Germany by creating welfare programs funded by the government, and that was to ensure loyalty to their government from the citizens, and that would also freaking take the wind out of freaking the socialist cells. So in reality, freaking, what you're getting from these welfare freaking programs is you're getting, or the government is actually ensuring your loyalty, because if you don't play the ball game with them, what ends up happening is you lose those benefits and those incentives. Okay, so you either play the game or you go without. You'd think that after World War II they would end that, but they didn't. What they ended up doing is they freaking started doing the same method when it came to rebuilding freaking Europe. They not only were they using freaking German Nazi prisoners for indentured servants, but they were also freaking telling people who were citizens within the European countries that if you want help from these governments, you're going to have to freaking go out and do labor for benefits. And these people, all their stuff was just destroyed. They were living in crumbled freaking neighborhoods, everything. It was either do freaking what these people said or freaking go without their family, starve and everything. And that's how Europe was rebuilt. You don't hear that in the history books. You also don't hear that in the history books where the EU was founded because of the freaking coal and steel community. These countries allowed freaking this a freaking supranational organization to freaking take absolute and complete control over two of the most major resources they had. Okay, This eventually grew into what's now called the European Union. Okay, and it expanded, of course, and but out of it, you got to understand the European Union has 100 complete control of all the resources in Europe. So they control it. And I think when it comes to the EU, what people need to worry about with them is the whole thing about Germany. Okay, now everybody's getting this all backwards. When they finally tore down the wall and they created the new unified Germany, people need to understand that Germany was their flagship. Okay, Germany was the culmination of all of this EU garbage just pushed into one freaking country. They freaking reformed Germany as a whole and they trained it to be exactly what the EU wanted it to be. You know, that's why the capital of the EU is there in freaking Germany, even though they don't say it is. You know what I mean? But everybody knows that's where it is. So Germany became freaking basically the flagship of the EU, and that's why everybody freaking listens to Germany, and that's why France, even though it has the biggest economy that the EU freaking bleeds off of, is now freaking got a no confidence vote on their freaking government. There's all kinds of stuff going on over there, and guess what? Here's Trump sitting there saying, look, man, you know, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And guess what the EU's doing? They're freaking going in front of one another and they're saying, this is what we're going to do, and this is what and all they're doing is saying they're finally actually doing what freaking Trump wants them to do. You know, and that's something that I find odd. That's the first time since freaking Trump's been in office they've actually started wanting to do what Trump says to do. Is because shit's hit the fan, and they need to start getting serious about shit. They thought that they had this freaking armor on them that was impenetrable. But come to find out, after all those years of freaking migrant workers being freaking shipped in since World War One, and the EU expanding, it created a freaking chink in the armor. So now, all of a sudden, everything was taken care of but that immigration problem, you know? And now it's coming back to bite them in the ass. So crazy things are going to happen. Crazy things are going to happen. I'd love to tell you things are going to be sunshine and freaking peachy keen and the world's going to be great because we're going to make it all work out. But that's not the case, man. There's a lot of shit coming down the pipeline. And all I can say is freaking get your guns and get ready because there's going to be a war coming. It's just nobody's smart enough to figure it out. They're still playing the game. That's all I got.
Yep, it's gonna be a very it's gonna be very interesting. I mean, again, right? Clearly, Trump had to do something about how the Europeans were almost continuously poking the bear to try and prod something, and Putin has been keeping his people in line so far. The only one is Putin is not going to be, Putin cannot at some point, right, if they keep doing it enough, right, like there's going to be enough pressure put on Putin, and he's going to, hold on a second, he's going to change his mind, or he'll get removed, right? So the whole situation there is, I mean, it's like, yeah, Trump had to do something in the end. He has to get this settled out, right? A war with Russia is still mutually assured destruction. The warheads are still in their silos, and the moment that one side or the other starts to lose, the nukes will fly. Right? That's what's going to happen, right? And it's like, it just blows my mind that people are too stupid to figure out what mutual assured destruction actually means. Mutual assured destruction is that everybody fucking dies.
Yeah.
That's what fucking happens, right? And it's like, you talk to some of these fucking leftists out there, and it's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, no. Mutual assured destruction. Everybody fucking dies, right? Like, there is no winners in a drawn out conflict with Russia. Sorry, fuck your feelings. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yep.
So yeah, that Trump very keen on a solution because Trump is very much aware of mutually assured destruction. Apparently there's some European leaders that are not. And it's like the lack of personal responsibility, which we're seeing all over Western Europe, by the way, in particular in Western Europe, is very disturbing because I don't necessarily think if something goes wrong, I don't think it's going to happen because of something that the US or the Russians will do. It'll be one of the European nations that'll cause it. And while Trump has to basically hold a strong stance against Russia, the Russians are not the innocent party that they're made out to be, although in this particular case they had to respond because of the way the Ukrainian government was allowing groups like the Azov Battalion to go around and commit atrocities in the eastern part of the Ukraine. You know what? Neither side is completely blameless on this, although if I had to pick between Putin and Zelensky, I would go with Putin, although, again, probably not by much. But again, right, Trump is, and again, I keep saying it, Trump is very, very keen on not starting World War III, right? You don't have to be a goddamn effing rocket scientist to figure that out. So anyway, with that, short show tonight, probably because I didn't upload any complimentary videos to run with it. We are officially done tonight. I hope you enjoyed.
Just to let you know, though, you did an excellent job tonight. This was actually, for a short show, the topics were great.
Yep. I might end up, I've got a whole truckload of memes. I'm going to try to do in the Roki 5 live stream. Probably if I don't really, it depends on my schedule, right? Because I'm going to eat and I'm going to bed as soon as this show's over.
Yeah.
Because it's been I'm not going to go into, it's been a rather long and stressful last few days for me. And I actually, literally, as I'm talking, I have to actually step outside and go check my vehicle to make sure that the tire hasn't gone flat because I have to take it in to get the tire fixed on the car on Monday. Or I have to go and reinflate it again to make sure it doesn't go flat. But it's it's been another rather stressful day today. And I'm ready to call it, pack it in, but I'm not quite done. Got one thing to check out outside, and then I got to go have some dinner, but that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Be back as early as tomorrow to do 261 and get myself caught up. And unless Roger has any more closing comments, I'm going to call it a night.
I'm good to go, man. I hope you have a good night's sleep, and I will talk to you later, bud.
All right, that's it for tonight. Thank you very much. I will see you potentially as early as tomorrow. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later, too.